like in the biology, it's just like numbers and like information we know.
Mhm, mhm. It's the record of the experiments, so it includes numbers and descriptions. What is the control group?
Control group is like one of the two groups in the experiment, and it's under control by the research man. And yeah,
So what is the control group usually used for?
it's used to do what?
So remember, there's a control group and there's the experiment, like the ones that are experimented on. So the
Yeah.
control group is to make sure that under the condition of the experiment, a normal subject will be able to it's the kind of the basis of like how a normal subject would perform. So you can compare the experiments on the normal like control group. Okay. And then can you explain the difference between independent and dependent variables?
Like the independent variable is like independent, and
Mm-hmm.
like the dependent variable is like is based on if the independent variable changes, then dependent variable will change.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, perfect. Okay, so can you give like a flow chart or like an overview of how you get from inference to hypothesis to theory?
Um, First thing to do is like the operation.
Mm, the first thing is inference, because do you
Okay, yeah,
remember what inference is?
yeah, no, yeah. Okay, the
Okay.
first one is operation, and the next one is operation, right?
Uh-huh.
All right, so after the operation is like hypothesis.
No, actually, your operation or experiment is to confirm or deny the hypothesis.
Oh,
So you always need a hypothesis for the experiment, and you do the experiment to like see if the hypothesis is right or wrong.
oh, okay.
So after the experiment, what does the hypothesis turn into if it's right?
Uh, if it's right, it becomes a theory.
Correct. Okay. So, can you explain what is quantitative and qualitative?
Is that about DNA stuff?
No, no, no. It's about data. There's quantitative data and qualitative data.
Oh, the
Think of the words like quantity and quality. We just talked about this. Do you remember what I said data includes?
oh yeah, the like like
It's fine. It's fine. Just take a
okay,
guess.
okay. Um, however, for those two, like the one of them is like the numbers that we already sure about this, and it's never changed. And the other one is like it's changing.
No, 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 no. Okay. So one of them is numbers. One of them is like descriptive. So it's like descriptions. Do you
Oh,
remember?
okay.
Can you
Yeah,
guess like which one is which?
yeah.
uh,
Wow, their pronunciation is so same.
one was an L, one was an N. So
Oh
like
yeah,
you just gotta
the L
remember
is
that.
number, right? The L is number. No?
No.
All right, so
Qualitative is description, because
okay.
you remember quality versus quantity, right? Okay, so when you think of quality over quantity, you you can think of like apples. So the quantity of apples is how many apples there are. So it'll be like 3, 4, 5, like numbers. And then the
So
quality of the apple is
like the number of apples is like n, right?
how?
The number of apples, like n, right? Okay.
Yeah, so that would be quantity. And then quality is like you say quality in life a lot, right? Like this apple's quality is not that good. It means that the apple doesn't look that good. But you can't really measure how good an apple is. Well, like you could, but like normally you wouldn't be able to measure it. So it will be quality. Quantity is number. Quality is description. Okay. Next, this should be what you already know. What is DNA?
Huh? DNA.
What is DNA?
Wait, I think I know this one. Wait. Let me think. Um, so like I am thinking about a word in the textbook, and like I think like yesterday I said like I asked you like, so is the DNA is just like same as something. Yeah, I'm just thinking about that word. What's that word?
The word is genetic code.
Oh yeah,
So
genetic
DNA
code, yeah.
stores genetic code. We will learn more about DNA later. Like I'm sure, because it's a really important concept in biology. Okay, so last one. What is stimulus?
Uh, I should do some review before this one.
It's fine. Do you remember what where stimulus is in the textbook?
Like in the 1.3, I think, or 1.2.
So what is
Okay.
it talking about? What where does stimulus appear? And what is that section talking about?
DNA.
No, it's talking about what is what is life.
Oh, okay. So like the DNA is one. Like there's a three reason why is that things life. Because the DNA is one of them. Right?
Uh-huh. And stimulus is another one of them. So what did they say about stimulus?
Oh, I think I know this one.
I think you know this one.
Wait. So one of them is DNA. The other one is stimulus, and another one is what?
Something else.
Okay, something else.
So what did they say about stimulus?
Let me think.
It's related to environment.
Is that about the grows up and I don't know. Oh, the goal is like the other reason. Okay. Um. Okay, I don't know.
Okay. So what is said is that a feature of living organisms, so like life, is that they respond to stimulus in the environment. So stimulus is like something that happens that you'll like respond to. It's like a change or like whatever that's like popping out.
Okay.
Okay. So it says the textbook definition is that stimulus is signals to which an organism responds to.
All right. Let me tutor notes. Okay.
Okay, so are you ready to read the rest of 1.3?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so just a recap of what happened in 1.3. So 1.3 first says that biology is the study of life. But we tried yesterday to like, I asked you yesterday, like, what do you think life is? Like, what differs something from living versus like non-living? So and it is pretty hard to define, right? So the textbook attempts to use a few characteristics like DNA, stimulus, and this one, it grows and develop. So it tries to use a bunch of characteristics to describe it. And we've already read about DNA and stimulus. So the next page is going to give you 5 more characteristics of living things, and it has some really, really important concepts. So I give you some time to read it and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Mm. I'm them.
Perfect. Okay, so the first one you just read is about reproduction. So can you just rephrase reproduction in like a more common word?
Just like they'll have children.
Yeah, correct. Okay, so what is sexual reproduction versus asexual reproduction?
The sexual one is like they'll have like parents. They are like simple example is like my father and my mother. They are like the man and woman. But
And what is asexual?
asexual is like they don't have parents.
Yeah, their parents are like basically the same as themselves.
Yeah.
So right here it says that a single organism provides offspring identical to itself. And I think there's another word that is not highlighted, but you should probably know. It's called offspring. So do you know what offspring is?
Is that in this box?
It's right here.
Let me see. Where is it? Oh, okay, here.
What do you think it is from the paragraph? Doing some SAT.
Wait, I think I know this one. Offspring. Like, my son is my offspring. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's just a biological scientific word for children.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So the next one, it's a slightly more complicated concept, homeostasis. So what is it from what you read? What is homeostasis?
Like, it's just make like our human body more stable, like the temperature of the human body and yeah.
So usually it doesn't just include temperature, but most likely they're talking about temperature, but most of the time it's that you need to have a stable temperature, a stable like chemical environment, and like water balance and stuff like that. Like all of those, it needs to be stable to ensure that like an organism is like living. We'll talk about this much later. And this is kind of related to the next word, and I'm not sure if you read it or not, but metabolism. And usually you use metabolism to keep homeostasis. So how you're able to keep your internal temperature and chemical environment stable is that you need to have a whole series of chemical reactions. And the combined a lot of chemical reactions that happen in your body, the combined term for them is metabolism. So when you say metabolism, it means like literally any like the total of all the chemical reactions that happen in your body. Okay.
Yep.
So like here, metabolism can mean like pretty much everything that we've talked about right now, like the use of DNA as a genetic code is a type of metabolism, like the ability to reproduce, like the whole reproduction cycle. It's also metabolism. Like metabolism is used for homeostasis, and usually like when you respond to like stimulus, you use some sort of metabolism to do that. So it's just like you just need to know that it's a very general term, and you're going to like see that a lot in biology. Okay. And then the next two, they're relatively more simple, so I won't have you read about it yet. The next one is going to be living things are made up of cells. So it's pretty simple. Like cells are the basic building blocks of life. And have you learned the vocabulary cell?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, then that'll be good. It's usually the definition for it is just it's the basic building block of life. So all life is made of cells, like whether it's like one cell or like a bunch of cells. So yeah, and then the next one is evolution. So most or all living organisms evolve, but what you need to remember about evolution is that like single organisms do not evolve. They need to evolve as a group. It can't be like I'm evolving throughout my lifetime. Like that doesn't work that way. It needs to be a group of them. And you will learn later like natural selection and stuff like that. Like it doesn't change the individual organisms. It changes what the group of organism is like. Okay, but we'll come back to it later. For right now, you just gotta know that there are 8 characteristics described by the textbook that that are like definition for living organisms. It's that living organisms contain DNA, they grow and develop, they respond to stimulus, they reproduce, they maintain homeostasis, they have use of material and energy through metabolism, and then they're made up of cells and they evolve as a group. Okay. Okay. So next one. Again, these ones are more of general information. Just it's the same thing as what we just talked about, but it's a little like it just like explains it in a different way. You can read it if you want to on your own time, but as of right now, we'll just look at the we'll look at the definition of biosphere.
Okay.
Oh, and also if you have any questions when I'm explaining things, just feel free to ask.
Okay.
Because I know like it's a lot of stuff to remember.
So I just need to read the independence in natural, right?
Mhm. Just the paragraph that has biosphere.
Okay. I'm finished.
So what is biosphere?
The bioship is like we're all in the bioship, like every species on the earth. And like if the one part of bioship is like been destroyed or like disappeared, and like whole bioship will like crash.
So it basically says like everything like that's living on Earth, like it's part of the biosphere. Okay, so the next few pages they describe like different fields of biology. So just going to talk about it very briefly. Like biotechnology is basically using like technological methods to study biology. It like it's a very like advanced field, and like you usually deal with like more micro like scope of stuff with like more advanced technology. So and then there's ecology, which studies as you talked about earlier, like food webs, how organisms are related to their environments and like the predator-prey relationship and stuff like that. So that's what ecology studies. And genomics and molecular biology looks at the very microbiology, like that includes genomic is specifically like the DNA inheritance and associated with it. And then microbiology, they mostly studies like cells and how like it says molecules in the cells are interacted within the cells and stuff like that. So you can definitely read it on your own because this like this textbook is only a general biology course, so it won't go into like any of those details, but it will be very interesting for you to read. Then let's read this paragraph. It talks about scientific measurement. Have you learned what SI units are?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll put that in the chat. So SI units, they're basically the scientific units that are used throughout like fields, like for the SI unit for like liquid is like liter, so like it's liter. It makes it so that when you're doing experiments, like when two different labs are doing experiments, they're using the same units so that one lab, the measurements that one lab gets can be replicated in another lab. So let's say I tell you that I have 4 food. Like how are you supposed to determine like what 4 food means? Like it could mean like 4 little pieces of food, like 4 like little chips, or it could mean like four whole like bowls of food, right?
Yeah.
So units are really important for knowing what like scientific experiments actually determined. And what SI units are is that they make sure that when the results of an experiment is out, like it's using the same set of units.
Okay.
Okay, so you can briefly read it, and SI units is here. International units.
I finished.
Okay, so I think you have a general understanding of it already. And so basically the system that we usually use is the metric system. That's like the system that the US usually use is the imperial system of measurement. So like the metric system is like centimeters, meters, like liter, kilograms, like Celsius and stuff like that. So like those are usually the SI units for experiments. And then we're pretty much done for chapter 1. For all for all the pages that we skipped for time, you can read them on your own, or if your course covers it, you can read them later. But right now, I'm going to just give you a little review of what we talked about.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask some really general questions. So what is the goal of science that we learned?
Can I do some review before you ask the questions? Can you?
You can look through it. I'll give you is 5 minutes enough for it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Give me Okay, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. Just ask the questions. So, can you explain how a hypothesis differ from an inference?
The hypothesis is like the guessing without the evidence, like without operation.
Mm-hmm.
Then the inference is like the guess after based on something. Like
Not quite. So we said that the hypothesis needs to be tested, right?
Yeah.
So the inference, the textbook definition is an inference is a scientific explanation for a set of observations that can be tested. That's hypothesis. Inference is a logical interpretation based on what scientists already know.
Okay.
So inference is like you have a previous knowledge and then you're guessing something. Hypothesis is you're trying to explain a set of observations and it could be tested.
Okay.
So next one. Let's see. The process in which two cells from different parents unite to produce the first cell of a new organism is called.
Can you say questions again?
Okay, so what is the process that two cells from different parents unite to produce the first cell of a new organism called?
Sexual reproduction?
Correct. Perfect. Okay, so what is the process of organisms keep their internal conditions relatively stable called?
Can I just spell it? Because like I don't know how to say that word.
Okay, yeah.
Like the oh, okay, let me try it. Like a homo status. Okay,
Yeah,
HOMEOS.
homeostasis.
Okay, okay.
Very good. Okay, so if I say this worm is 2 centimeters long, is this a theory, inference, hypothesis, or data?
That's the data.
Correct. Very good. Okay. Let's see. So can you list 3 characteristics that defines life?
DNA.
Just 3.
Okay, DNA is one, right?
Mhm.
And reproduce.
Reproduce.
And like grow and deposit.
Good. Okay, the rest of them are respond to stimulus, metabolism, which is how you use material and energy, and they're made up of cells, and they evolve as a group. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's move on to chapter 2. We won't have too much time to do chapter 2, and chapter 2 is like pretty important. So chapter 2 is about the chemistry of life, and it explains like the basic terms of like what part of chemistry is important for biology. So have you learned chemistry yet?
No.
Oh, okay. So it should be simple enough even if you do not have not done chemistry yet. So let's read the paragraph about atoms first. I'll share my screen. It's this paragraph.
Oh, you mean the chemistry class or the chemistry in biology?
Oh, chemistry class.
Oh, no.
Okay. Oh wow, I'm so bad at this. Okay, you get the concept.
Okay. I'm down. I'm down. I'm down.
Perfect. So so what's important to know is that first of all, we're introduced to another basic unit of something, right? It says atoms are the basic unit of matter. Do you remember the last basic unit that we were introduced to? We said something is the basic unit of something.
Wait. The something is the basic of something.
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's something is basic of science. Is that right?
No. Something is the basic unit of life.
So DNA is basic.
No. It's not DNA. Cells are the basic unit of life.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So here it's atoms are the basic unit of matter. And it's important to know when it says matter, it doesn't just mean life. It means like everything. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So like atoms are the basic unit of cells even. So like atoms are also basic unit of like non-living things like a rock. The atoms are still basic unit of that. And what are atoms made up of?
Protons, neutrons, electrons.
So atoms are made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons. And they're divided into, I think you probably know this, but they're divided into the middle part, which is the nucleus. The nucleus has protons and neutrons. And then there are electrons just like flying around it.
Yeah.
And then the heaviest part of an atom is going to be the middle part. So protons and neutrons, they usually have the most mass. They're the heaviest. And then we say that electrons are light enough that we most of the times, at least in high school, we disregard the mass of electrons when we're talking about the mass of matter.
So what is mass?
Mass is basically weight without gravity.
斤重.
Huh?
I'm trying to say in Chinese. Is that like 斤重?
I don't know the Chinese for it.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
but like,
okay.
Oh wait, I think it's 质量.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know that the Earth has gravity, and gravity like pulls you down, right?
Yeah.
So when you're weighing yourself with gravity, it's not just your own weight. It's like your weight with like the gravity.
Okay.
And the mass attempts to so basically your weight changes when you're on Earth versus when you're on the moon. Because moon has less gravity than the Earth. So there's less force pulling you down. So mass attempts to, it's like an SI unit, like type of idea. It attempts to like know how heavy you are. Like it attempts to be able to know how heavy you are without regarding like the gravity, the change of gravity. Okay. So basically it means like electrons are so light, it's like not heavy at all. It says 1/1840th of like a proton. Okay. So yeah, that is what you need to know for there. And then for elements, you can read this right now, but this is a little bit less important because it's a much harder concept. So basically, isotopes is that you know that the center of an atom, like the nucleus, is composed of protons and neutrons, right?
Yeah.
And when we measure the mass of an atom, we only measure the nucleus.
Yeah.
And for each element, like you know the table of elements, the chemistry like table of elements, right?
Yeah.
There's only a set of number of like elements.
Yeah.
And then what's different between one element from another element is the number of protons that they have. So if you change the number of protons in an atom, you change the element of that atom, and they behave completely different. Okay, but when you're trying to weigh the elements, you're not only weighing the neutrons, you're also weighing the reverse. You're not only weighing the protons, you're also weighing the neutrons. But in the same element, you know that the number of protons are always going to be the same, but the number of neutrons can change. And isotopes are like, say you have the same element, and one of them has like less neutrons than another one. So they're the same element, but they weigh different. And these two are called isotopes. Okay? Okay. So it's a much harder concept than to understand. So like you probably need to spend some time like after class to just like read through it. But right now, like what I just explained to you is what you need to know. But for biology, the most important one is carbon. Like biology has deal with carbon a lot, and carbon, the element, is usually thought of as like organic, like at the basis of like organic chemistry, which deal with like living organisms. Okay, so what you need to know about carbon, it's probably in the next page. No, it's not. What you need to know about carbon is that, first of all, carbon has a proton number of 12.
Okay.
So usually carbon is carbon 12, but you will see different carbons, and like there's if you see on the table right here, like this table, is that it has carbon 13 and carbon 14. So what makes the difference is oh god, I made a mistake. Okay. Carbon doesn't have a proton number of 12. It has the like table of element number of 12. It has the proton number of 6. I'm so sorry about that. My brain was not working. Okay. Yeah. Okay, it has the proton number of 6. And why it has a usual number of 12 is that usually in like a normal element, you have the same number of like protons and as you have for neutrons. So so carbon, the usual one is carbon 12 because it has 6 protons and 6 neutrons. So it weighs like 12. And then when you have carbon 13, it's when you have another, like an added number of neutrons. And carbon 14 is when you have 2 added number of neutrons. And when you learn chemistry, you will learn that like when you add too many number of neutrons onto an element that's not supposed to have this many neutrons, it becomes radioactive. And that's how like nuclear fission and fusion works. Okay, so in the next one, in the next page, it introduced the concept of compound. And compound is when you have different elements. You have different elements and a number of them, and you combine them together and they become compounds. Okay, so they're usually what you think of as like substances. Like here, you know the chemical formula for water is HO2, right?
Yeah.
And HO2 is the combination of 2 hydrogen elements and then 1 oxygen, right? So that makes it a compound because it's a combination of different elements. Yeah. And that goes the same for salt, which is NaCl, sodium chloride. Okay, so the next one is chemical bonds. And we'll talk about this in detail like tomorrow, because this is a much harder concept. So right now we can just focus on carbon and water. So the concept of bonding is really important in biology, because bonding, like, they let you know what, where did water go? Oh, carbon, okay. Yeah, we can probably talk about this tomorrow, because it's a much harder concept than what we previously talked about. We can go into chapter 2 right now and just like do a review of ecology right now. But basically, why we're skipping bonds right now is that you need to remember a lot about bonds, and they determine the interaction between different elements in biology. Okay, so we'll talk about it tomorrow, because it's like probably too complicated for right now. Okay, so this reviews biosphere, and you can read it right now.
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay, so just a review of what biosphere is. And then now we can read about just the first paragraph will be good enough. Ecology.
I'm done. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think ecology is?
Ecology is like the organism is with like the animal with animal, plants with plants, and those so the ecology is like the research on them.
Mhm. You're pretty much right. Ecology is just animals and their environments.
Okay.
Like I shouldn't say animals, like organisms and their environments. Okay, so this whole chapter it talks about ecology, and it's going to be about like the organisms and how they interact with the environment. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand we need to understand different levels of ecology. Okay, so it's split between 2 pages, unfortunately. Let me see if I can put both of them. Okay. It's still split. That's a little bit unfortunate. But what you need to read is on the bottom of the page, right here. Like these.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is you can, on your piece of paper or notebook, you can draw a circle for species. And then draw a bigger circle for population and a bigger circle for community. But just don't make them too big.
So like species like smallest one, right? Then the community is like biggest one.
Community is not the biggest one yet.
Yeah, but for those three, the community is the biggest one. Yeah.
And then you need ecology, biome,
Okay.
and then planet.
Okay.
Okay. So read about what a species is. These are all just definitions.
finished those three.
Okay, perfect. So let's say you have a fish tank, and the fish tank has like three like I don't know, three black fishes, three red fishes, and then three white fishes. So what is the fish tank?
That's the community.
Mm-hmm. And can you say what the species is and what the population is?
The good example for species is like the same animals. The number of same animals, they are like same.
Mm-hmm. So what is the
And
population?
population is like the number of the species
Okay, so
in
so
the same area. Yeah,
for the fish tank example that I just gave you, what are the species in the fish tank?
like the blackfish, redfish.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then what is the population?
Like the number of them.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them? Yeah.
Okay, and then you can read this part and try to explain what an ecosystem would be and what a biome would be. And also, when you're reading the last one, we have already learned a vocabulary that's associated with the last one. And just try to tell me what it is.
Okay. I'm finished.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So, can you explain what would make an ecosystem for? Just give an example.
Um, like the sheep eats the grass and the wolf eats the ships, and yeah.
So, is the grass a part of an ecosystem or is it not?
Yeah, the grass is a part of ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, what's important about ecosystem versus communities? So, in the example that you just gave, the sheep and the wolves are all part of a community, right?
Yeah.
But what's the difference between community and ecosystem is ecosystem includes the physical environment. So that will not only be the grass, it will also be like the ground, the rocks, like whatever that's there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So a biome is a group of ecosystems. So it's a bunch of ecosystems and they must be similar. So the biome includes a bunch of similar ecosystems. And then the oh, I just spoiled the answer for you. The last one, the planet, the biosphere is all the biomes on the planet.
Yeah.
So what would be in the fish tank example? What would be the ecosystem for the fish tank?
Water.
It's not just the water. It's going to be all the fishes plus the water plus the fish tank plus whatever grass that's
remaining. What I mean. Yeah, plus water. Yeah.
So what would be a biome?
Bio is like 2 fish tanks, 3 fish tanks.
So maybe like you have the same type of fish tank as your friend, and these 2 fish tanks together, they will make a biome. So what is a biosphere?
There's 2 same fish tanks. That's one group, and there's 2 other fish tanks, but different than group 1. That's a group 2. And
so biome will be all of them on the planet.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So right here, can you read these paragraphs and tell me what's the difference between biotic versus abiotic factors? Okay. And that'll be the last paragraph for today. So you're almost done.
I'm done.
Okay, so what is the difference? It should be a one-word difference.
Yeah. So the biotic factor is the living things, the plants, animals, and the other factor is non-living things, but it's still in the environment. It's water, air, and is the temperature is part of this?
Yes, okay. Definitely. Okay, perfect. So that'll be it for today. And let's do a brief review because we covered a lot today. So what are the components of an atom? What makes up an atom?
Protons, neutrons, electrons.
And which one is very light enough that we don't count it?
You mean the in the proton, neutron, electron?
Which one is the lightest one that we don't count for mass?
Electron.
Okay, so can you give me just in order? Put for population, community, ecosystem, biosphere, biome, and species in order of
the big
smallest.
to small and big to small, right?
Big to small.
Bioship.
Mm-hmm.
How do I say that? BIOME.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Biome.
Bio. Okay. Ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
and community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Population
Mm-hmm.
and species.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct. Okay. So what is an offspring? It's a one-word definition.
Wait, what is what?
What is an offspring?
Offspring, that is like the like next generation, like my
Mm-hmm.
children. Yeah.
Very good. So what are the two basic basic building blocks? Like what is the basic building block of life? What is the basic building block of matter?
The basic building of life and matter.
The basic building of life. What is the basic building block of life?
Oh, I don't know this one. I don't know this one. Be honest, I don't know.
It's cells. Cells are the
Cells.
basic building blocks of life.
Okay.
And then what is the basic building block of matter?
Oh, the new what?
We just talked about it.
Yeah, I know. Like that thing is like they that thing built by like three of them, like the
Yeah,
portion. Yeah. But I
yeah,
forget
atoms.
the name of atoms. Okay.
Okay, so what is the unit? What is the name for the units that are the same throughout like different sciences? What name do we give to like units that that stays the same?
What? Can you say the question again?
So what is the name that we give to measurement units that stay the same for different sciences?
You mean the unit?
Yeah, units. What is that name?
It's just two letters, right?
Yeah.
Like I what? I something. I say
SI
IS.
units.
Okay.
SI units. Okay, perfect. So make sure you review the vocabularies, and we'll test the vocabularies again tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'll talk to Robert to see if we can move to do bio first tomorrow, because we're going to go over the bonds, like the chemistry and bonds. And since you don't know chemistry yet, so it might be a little bit difficult for you. So yeah, just make sure you wouldn't be sleepy when you were doing the bonds.
Okay.
Okay. I see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bye.